Peace. Greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. First and foremost, family, share the video out. Share the video out. Make sure you hit the like button. Hit that like button. If you are not subscribed to the channel, hit the little subscribe icon on YouTube. There's a little bell icon next to the subscribe button. Click on that so that you can subscribe and be a part of the notification nation and get notified every time Be the Power drops their dynamic content. We talk reparations today, and I want to get into some things. So first, let me give some shout outs to the fam. BTP Riri is in the building as usual. Sister Shanna, BTP Shanna. It's on deck. Shout out to my Cali fam all day. Vince Jefferson is plugged in. Now we're gonna talk about this conversation on reparations ain't going nowhere. And I worded it that way. What's going on? I think that's Ms. Rose in the chat from Evanston rejects racist reparations. LA born DC love was good, fam. What's good? I worded it this way for a reason. We know what we mean when we say this conversation on reparations ain't going nowhere. It ain't going nowhere. We mean it's not going away. Now other people might see it and be like, yeah, this conversation isn't going anywhere. And they might just come on and click it. And you gotta employ your little double entendres sometimes, triple entendres, depending on how you script your lyrics, if you will. And I don't know, I don't think I'm gonna stay on here long. I always say that, and then I wind up being on this piece way longer than I intended. But today, we are gonna just go over a few things. As the situation with reparations in California is starting to move. What's going on, OG Arthur Ward? We're starting to see a lot of local initiatives pop up, and I do want to touch on this because I know some people disagree with my stance, and that's cool. That's cool. I want to say this because I want to be clear, because it pertains to local reparations. First and foremost, reparations is reparations. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me pull this up. I want to be clear on something. I don't want nobody to misunderstand what I'm saying. What they're doing in Evanston is not reparations. Clearly, it is not reparations. It's some type of housing voucher program. So that's not reparations. But what's going on in California, should they be successful in handing our people, not handing, that's the wrong term, giving our people in Cali their due based on the generations of discrimination, based on the recommendations of the economists, whatever those final recommendations may be, that's still reparations. So I want to read this right here. Read this. Make sure y'all can see that. Hold on. All right. Let me blow it up a little bit. It says, let me read this. It says, an historical timeline of, let me unhighlight it, an historical timeline of reparations payments made from 1783 through 2023 by the United States government, states, cities, religious institutions, universities, corporations, and communities. Like, reparations has a specific definition. Again, some of you may disagree with me. I'll pull that definition up in a minute. But I want run through something real quick. 1863, over 4 days in July, mobs of white New Yorkers terrorized black people by roaming the streets from City Hall to Gramercy Park to past 40th Street, setting fire to buildings and killing people. The overall death toll is estimated at between over 100 and over 1,000. Immediately after the riots, the white merchants of New York, report of the Merchants Committee for the Relief of the Colored People Suffering from the Late Riots in the City of New York, 1863 booklet, combined forces to raise money to care for the injured, repair the damaged property, and support the legal and employment needs of the community's black people. The shopkeepers raised over $40,000, equivalent to $825,000 today. That is still a form of reparation. It is still a form of repair. I've seen a lot of conversation and commentary centered around what is and what is not reparations. And I just like to stick to the, like the real meanings of stuff and not the meanings that we've accepted. I've stopped doing that a long time ago, but I found myself, I found myself doing that a little bit in this movement. So it says, let me blow this up some. Reparations, the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. And they give an example. The courts required a convicted offender to make financial reparation to his victim. The other definition says the compensation for wage damage paid by a defeated state. So let me get up out of that. We know that ultimately reparations is and can only be done by the government, the federal government. We know that for a fact. We know that for a fact. What's going on, Sister BB? We know that for a fact. Reparations for the freedmen nationwide can be and only be done by the federal government. But state acts of atonement are still reparative, depending on if its intended purpose is to repair. Again, what they're doing in Evanston is not reparations. And this is my opinion. People may disagree with me. It's cool. It's cool. I'm just going by the definitions, and I've read an example from the University of Massachusetts Amherst's website that showed an example of exactly what I'm speaking about. What's going on, Sister Antonia? And I made a tweet to that effect because I don't believe that if residents get repair in California, it's going to affect freedmen in Alabama, freedmen in Mississippi, freedmen in South Carolina, freedmen in Georgia, freedmen in especially South Carolina, Mississippi, and Alabama, especially those three states. And I said, what Cali eats is not going to make them freedmen poop. it's just not. So I just have a different perspective on that. And I wanted to share that with the family because I've seen some conversation centered around local reparations. And I've seen a lot of the obstructionists take the words of those whom many may deem authorities in this space, and they run with it in a way to oppose what it is that's being said or what's being done. So I just wanted to get up here and say that and clear that up. And that's what reparations is. It's like, it's clear. The government, private citizens, institutions, while they cannot cover a broad reparative package, obviously they can't do that. they can make atonement for their harms. And this is still reparation. Still reparation. So there's a lot of things in the news right now. Let me see. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to start? I think I'm going to start with Janet Yellen. I'm going to start with Yellen, the Treasury Secretary. And it was funny, I shared this with the group, and Brother Ali was like, so? Who is she? I don't care. I don't care what she, what she, I don't care what she says, what you're saying about Evanston's effect. Yeah, Arthur Ward said, what you're saying about Evanston are facts. What is being done there doesn't even meet the baseline of what could be called reparations. And that's a fact. That is a fact. So let's start with, I want to start with Janet Yellen. I want to start there, and then we'll work our way into some of these other articles. We want to keep this conversation going, and we want to stay ahead of the conversation because this current movement was built by, before I get into that, this current reparations built by a groundswell of individuals that got together and they started rocking a certain hashtag. And again, y'all have heard me tell this story before, but I'm going to tell it again. There were two mouthpieces that articulated the voices and the research of this growing movement. This growing movement. And they got too big for their britches, if you will. Because that happens, right? Some people, they get too big for their britches. And the next thing you know, they're trying to position themselves as the almighty leaders and demanding that people worship them. If y'all ever see that coming out of this camp, then we've been cloned, and we are witnessing some invasion of the body snatcher stuff going on here. Y'all ever notice, like when I'm building with, like when I went into space where brother Marlon Watson was there and Gabe, he was being interviewed. The first thing I did was gave Marlon Watson a shout out, because you're supposed to honor the people. You're supposed to honor the people that, peace, T Moody L. Yes, the britches. You're supposed to honor the people. You know what I'm saying? Like the people that come before you. You don't dishonor them, especially the ones that you rock with and y'all solid. You honor them, and I made sure in that room full of people, because they might not have known who Marlon Watson was in this new Twitter space world, the clubhouse transplants. And I made sure to let the people know that people like Marlon Watson and Arthur Ward, who's rocking with Gabe, who's managing his campaign and pushing him in the 5th Ward of Chicago, these are the people that were there when we came. And so we give honor to them as OGs in this reparationist space. We don't try to walk over them or tell them what to do or summon them, et cetera, et cetera. It's like people got the game backwards and twisted. People got the game backward and twisted. Get my Umar on, start repeating certain stuff. I want people to get it and understand. And so I make sure to do that. I make sure that the people that was in this thing before us, that inspired us to do BTP and help move the message along, I make sure to give them shout outs. I make sure to give shout outs to the people that's doing the work still right now. And that's why y'all always hear me shout out the Cali fam, always. Because I know what they fighting for. And nothing else gets centered over our repair. Nothing at all. I'm gonna be clear on that. So, peace, what's going on, Cynthia Blaine? So, I want to get into the genesis of this movement, right? Because it started with that hashtag movement. And Providence said that this thing has to fall apart because the people that are mouthpieces are not leaders, not leaders at all. They're not movers. They're not shakers. They are mouthpieces. They are good at political commentary and breaking down data. See, no real groundwork, no real. Y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Is my mic 1 2 1 2? How am I sounding? Let me know. Let me know. Cause this thing be acting up. 1 2 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Y'all let me know how it sounded. Y'all let me know. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Because I know it's a delay in the chat. So I want to make sure. Okay, cool. Everybody's saying I'm cool. All right. So what we have now is movement. And there were other people that hopped on in this movement. Other peace, Sister Juanita, I see you. Just the head. I'm trying to give shout outs as I go along. Y'all know I cut my shout outs off at a certain point, but giving shout outs today. So I want to recognize the people that's, you know what I'm saying, that's doing this work. But that groundswell created the conversation around reparations. Marianne Williamson. See, people always cite Marianne Williamson, even when they're trying to be obstructionists. They always cite, they forget about Tom Steyer, who was the other white candidate that ran on the reparations platform and for all intents and purposes seemed to be legit, seemed to be about repairing our people, seemed that way. We had other people that jumped in this thing because they seen how popular it was, and other YouTube celebrities. Y'all know who I'm talking about. These YouTube celebrities jumped in. But for me, I didn't care about that. Whether I rocked with certain people or not, the end goal is ultimately for us to get reparative justice. Period. Period. And now, what I feared has come to fruition. What I feared has come to fruition. I said we are all on the highway together. And we are driving vehicles. We are not driving bumper cars because we are not at an amusement park. This is amusement. This is not entertainment. This was not entertainment. LA born DC Love said, let me pull that up. Tom Steyer wasn't bad. We attended a town hall with him and asked him the reparations question. I have it on tape. Like these are people that was there. These are people that were right there. So this groundswell that caused this conversation, that caused everybody to jump in a lane on this specific highway, got them moving. And the next thing you know, one car crashed into another car. Another car crashed into another car. And then the party buses was driven by the big wigs, I guess, the YouTube celebrities, etc. Their buses started to crash into each other. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? What's going on here? BTP, we had our own little party bus. We still trucking along. We still trucking along. We ain't crashing. We ain't crashing at all. We'll run you off the road, though. We will run you off the road. And that's a fact. That's a fact. But What I fear is happening right now. This reparations thing has become bumper cars in the middle of a highway full of traffic, many trying to go 100 miles an hour. Some don't even know how to drive good yet. And they're in their cars trying to put pedal to the metal and demanding others that have been driving this thing for a minute get out the way. we laugh at them. We laugh at them. But this is the state of this reparations thing because it is the state of humans. And when you throw people into the mix of something that they really don't understand, this is what you're going to get. It's going to be some chaos. And if it's not checked, well, then it's going to go out of control. And the next thing you know, everything these people do are going to be tied to your successes. That's why I chose to go into battle mode. And that's where I'm at. What they say, if it's up, then it's stuck. I'm stuck right now. I'm stuck right now. So I want to get into, yeah, Cynthia, we go, yeah, we got the monster truck. We got the monster truck, Sister Cynthia, on the hitch on our party bus. And every so often, I climb through the party roof. I mean, the moon roof of the party bus, walk on top of that piece, and go jump in the monster truck. And I got to go run some cars over on the highway and run them up off the road. It is what it is. Straight like that. So let's get into this conversation on reparations. This is a serious conversation because this is our political future. Why did they StreamYard just switch this whole thing around? Okay. The AP interview, Yellen says debt standoff risks calamity. So, you know, I'll peruse this article. She's in Africa, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I want to get to the reparations part. We're going to skip all of that. So I'm going to start from here. Let me see. I guess that's good. Let me see how it looks on y'all's screen. Let me do this. No, not that. All right, that's better. I'll leave it there. All right, it says the economist and former Federal Reserve chair has emphasized her desire to reduce racial and income inequality, an element of the systemic racism tied to slavery and its aftermath of segregation. For Democrats, the issue of how to bridge that divide is not just a matter of social justice, but political pragmatism, given that Black voters are a key constituency for winning elections. I want y'all to put a pin in that because I'm going to go to this other article, a gaslighting article from Out of the Root. You know, these liberals, boy, they're trying to manipulate and try every weak mind that they can with their ideas and their programs and the things that they want to push. So y'all keep a pin in that. For Democrats, the issue of how to bridge that divide is not just a matter of social justice, but political pragmatism, given that Black voters are a key constituency for winning elections. Yellen said the administration has not turned to reparations, payments, and other programs intended for the descendants of slaves to address the inequality. Quote, the administration has not embraced reparations as part of the answer, said Yellen, adding that we have a program to try to address these issues that involves many positive steps and adjustments and increasing opportunity. So the playbook of benign neglect that has been ran by the Democrats since at least Nixon days, when he started with the earliest version, I believe that's the earliest version of opportunity zones, you know, where the Nation of Islam it seems like they got a piece of that action. And the next thing you know, they were endorsing Nixon, of all people. They endorsed him. Oh, they said money make you do some funny things, and politics makes strange bedfellows. But it's the same playbook. When Obama would be pressed on this issue of reparations, and let me put this link in the chat for those of you who have not seen it. Y'all know how we do. We like to share these stories as we read them. I got you, Ms. Rose. You driving already, Ms. Rose. I ain't got to teach you how to drive. You driving already. You're driving. You are driving already. But Obama. Let's do this, right? While we got this screen up. Let's do this. Y'all know we pull this stuff up all the time, and I don't mind pulling it up even, as many times as I need. Destruction of black wealth during the Obama presidency. That's by peoplespolicyproject.org, jacobin.org. How Obama destroyed black wealth. Let me make sure. Okay, y'all can see that. The Claude Pepper Center. This was the paper, if I'm not mistaken, that the articles drew off of. How Obama destroyed black wealth. The Intercept. Obama's housing policies led to decline in black wealth. So the whole time we were being told that we need programs, we need investments in education. They say the same old BS over and over and over again. While our wealth under Barack Obama was plummeting, it's being decimated. And what did Obama do? He went and bailed out the banks. And one day I'm going to get really, really deep into that subject. We're going to get deep into that subject. What's going on, Derek? And we got Charlie Jacobs. What's good, yo? We got the Boston Freedmen in here deep. What's going on to all of Boston Freedmen? Shout out to all of the Boston Freedmen in here. I'm loving the family. I'm loving the family vibe. That creative minority that Dr. King spoke about. We're going to be the ones that get this thing done. We don't need 1,000 people on the live. Most of you people in this chat that's watching are the people that's making moves and getting things done. And this is what and who we do it for. We feed off of each other. Those that are learning and want to be a part of, they eventually will come in as well. Briss the Braveheart Peace. What's going on? What's going on, fam? Let me see. What's going on, Lafayette Ward? The Freedmen are on deck. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Okay, so where do I want to go next? The root. I told y'all to stick a pin in that. So let's go to the root. The gaslighting has begun. The gaslighting has begun. Okay. 2 years in, what has President Joe Biden done for Black Americans? I've read the story. I'm not obviously going to read this whole thing on air, but you look at the picture. It's like, yeah, we got this Black Supreme Court Justice woman, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yes. We got this, it's a victory for her and her family and liberalism in this country. It's not a victory for us. This symbolic gesture means absolutely nothing to our economic mobility in this country. I'll read this opening statement. It's not a stretch to say that without Black Americans, Joe Biden would not be sitting in the White House today. Now that we're halfway through his first term, it's worth checking in to see how Biden has delivered for the community that helped put him into power. Because I'm sure you're all tired of listening to me drone on out. I guess he writes stories about this stuff. So, of course, Biden nominated 25 Black judges to the federal court. What does that mean exactly? How does that mitigate an already poor wealth positionality from the median on down, how does that help with the I can't even say post-COVID numbers because we technically are still in COVID. We were in decline before COVID. It was part of a steady decline. That's why the article came out saying that by 2053, the median black family, which is worth $1,700 when you remove durables, i.e., e.g., depreciating assets, is only worth $1,700. That $1,700 will shrink to zero by 2053. Y'all know the talking point. We say it all the time. We've been saying it for years, and we're going to keep saying it until the situation is remedied. Look, he selected Kamala Harris as his running mate, making her the first African-American vice president in history. Kamala Harris is not an African-American. I don't know how many times this has to be said. Kamala Harris is an Indian American. Her mother is an Indian. Her father is an Indian from Jamaica. If you want to understand Jamaican culture, do some research into its history. So they try to call people like Kamala Harris's father Jamaican Indians. I mean, excuse me, some form of light-skinned Jamaicans. I can't remember the term. No, these were Indians that came. They brought the culture of ganja. That curry and a lot of the food that you eat that's Jamaican food, go to an Indian restaurant and they basically serve the same exact things. They serve the same exact things. So this idea that Kamala Harris is an African American is false. This idea that Kamala Harris, if she was full-blooded African American, one of us, an American freedman, that means absolutely nothing. This Baltimore is not getting any better. The inner cities of New York City aren't getting any better. Chicago, Detroit, St. Louis, Los Angeles, Compton, it's not getting any better. Crime, which has been at historic lows over the past decade, are having a crazy uptick right now. To think that a symbolic gesture like having this Indian American woman as the vice president and this judge, this judge, Ketanji Brown judge, that means absolutely nothing. That's right, Freedman, Holocaust survivor. She is a Brahmin Indian. This is a person that practices caste in Kamala Harris. Her people practice the caste system where I forget the terms. I used to know all of this stuff by heart. But there's a group of people at the top, like white people in America, and there's a group of people at the bottom, like black people in America. That's what she comes from. That's what her family structure is. But anyway, let's get to that. What has Biden done about student debt? Who cares? People in the black community at large, the so-called black community, and I'm talking about our people, the American freedmen. Let me speak in disaggregate language. The American freedmen. We don't care nothing about no student loan debt. They bring this up as if this is some type of victory for our people. It's not. It's not. It will only help those. What's the percentage? My chat is smart. 32% of our people go to college or something like that. I can't even remember the number, but come on, this means nothing. Okay, have black Americans thrived under President Biden? Let's get into the meat of this thing. Another way to look at the Biden presidency is to look at how black Americans have actually fared under his leadership. Leadership. That's an interesting word. On the bright side, COVID death among Black Americans have plummeted. COVID deaths among Black Americans have plummeted. So, did they maintain for white folks or Hispanics or for any other group? What was the reason this person had to put this in the article? This is what gaslighting sounds like. And one thing you'll learn about the liberal left is that they're no different from the conservative right. They will gaslight the hell out of people. They certainly will. COVID deaths among Black Americans have plummeted. So is that a sign that everything is going to be okay for us economically? Let's read on. But things haven't been all sunshine and rainbows. Duh. Skyrocketing inflation rates have been devastating for Black Americans. Why? Because we've never received the repair that we were supposed to receive in the 1800s. We didn't benefit from the New Deal. We didn't benefit from the GI Bills. A million of our people, mostly Black men, denied the GI Bill. That's why in 2022, we can still be having a conversation with this headline, family. 2023, excuse me. 2 years in, what has President Joe Biden done for Black Americans? It's 2023. This shouldn't be the headline. In fact, that sister right there, she should be the president or one of us. Just saying. So, despite the fact the gaslighting is thick, you gotta like wipe it off when you get finished reading stuff like this. Despite the fact that presidents often have limited control over things like inflation, Biden's poll numbers among Black Americans took a noticeable hit at the beginning of the summer as prices of everyday household items surged, although he did regain much of his popularity closer to the midterms. What does that mean? See, we can read over here. And those of us that study logical fallacy and study argument, please know that you can't just say anything and think that it's going to fly, because we are dissecting your words line by line, word by word. Although he did regain much of his popularity closer to the midterms, did he regain popularity among Black Americans? Did he regain much of that popularity? We don't know because that sentence is so vague. You cannot fool us with your words. None of you. None of you. Going into the second half of his first term, Dixon says that Biden will have to find ways to address inflation more than just raising interest rates. That part of the discussion has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with us at all. Hold on. All right, let me make sure none of my people's is in here. Back here. Says we need a much more robust plan to address inflation and to hopefully offset a recession that many people think is around the corner, says Dixon. Inflation is disproportionately impacting African Americans, and the recession is going to have another disproportionate impact. Go back to the articles I just showed you all that said Barack Obama destroyed Black wealth. Why? Because he sought to fix the banks. And the people that had money and that had friends that worked in the financial and banking institutions, well, they knew what to tell their friends. Mostly white folk. Let's be honest, mostly white folk. And in so doing, when the recovery happened over Obama's presidency, 101 million new millionaires were made under Obama's term. Most of them white folks. And I'm talking about most of them. Obama did nothing to quell what was going on with us. He did nothing for police misconduct and brutality towards us and private citizens like the immigrant, George Zimmerman, and what he did to Trayvon Martin. The only thing Obama could say was, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon Martin. How does that transform into policy, sir? George Floyd gets executed in the middle of the street in broad daylight, and the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act is still languishing in Congress like H.R. 40 has been since 1989. Let's finish reading this. As far as the question of whether Biden's presidency has been transformative for Black Americans or not, Dixon says it's still too soon to tell. It's too soon to tell. That nothing is transforming. Everything is getting worse. The gas prices just went back up. The food prices are at I went to the supermarket today. I kid y'all not. I got 3 bags of stuff, family. I'm not, thinking about the price. I'm getting what I need. And when I get finished ringing up my last item, I just look at the screen. I did the self-checkout. And it said $83. I had to look at them like, what? I had to look at my stuff like, what did I get? $83? What did I spend? 3 bags. 3. And I'm not talking about full, heavy shopping bags. No, just 3 regular bags. I probably could have fit most of that stuff in 1 bag that I would have had to double up. As far as the question of Biden's president, or as far as the question of whether Biden's presidency has been transformative for Black Americans or not, Dixon says it's too soon to tell. That's a difficult question, says Dixon. Who the hell is Dixon? Sometimes when you are developing a negative photo, it takes a few seconds. This is how gaslighting sounds, fam. And you got to watch these gaslighters because they're real. Oh, no, they think that they're real slick with their words because they're able to manipulate other people. And because they believe that they could manipulate other people, they think that they could manipulate us, but you can't. You cannot. Says, so what you see in the beginning, when you develop the negative, is different from what's to follow. That was a good piece of gaslighting propaganda if I've ever heard some. Let me put that link in the chat for y'all. Let me put that in the chat for y'all. That's crazy. Ms. Rose said, we going broke at the grocery store. It's crazy. I'm like, $83? What the? Antonia said a dozen of eggs is $13 in Boston. I don't eat eggs, but I got people out here and they're telling me the eggs are $7. I'm like, what? $7? Biden's presidency has been a failure for our people. And let's call it for what it is. And we have to stay vigilant and diligent with that point. Not just Biden, every president. None of them has fixed the generations of problems that our people have been dealing with since the 1800s, since after slavery. None of them. None of them. And the one that attempted to do it with the affirmative action program, it became a tool to be used for white women and Black immigrants. Not us. We got boxed out of it. Now they're in the Supreme Court. After other people have received way more benefit from it than we have. You have a group of Asians in the Supreme Court fighting with their Confederate lawyer to get rid of affirmative action. At this point, I don't even care about it anymore. We're not benefiting from it. We're not benefiting What's going on, Sister Roz? Roz says Biden's presidency is a huge failure for American freedmen. And that's a fact. I don't know what they're looking at, but those are the articles that they use to gaslight. Don't think that there's just gaslighting going on from the right wing in America. There's gaslighting going on from both wings. And we got to shoot that bird out the sky. And we got to repair that bird. And we have to bring that bird under our control. Because then and only then will we be able to remedy the situation. And I got some visuals. I got some visuals that's coming out really, really soon. Damn, somebody said $2 for air at the gas station. in Ohio, I think that's crazy. BB said at Whole Foods, $125 for one bag. I know. I know. Because those are the type of supermarkets that I shop at. So let me see. Where do I want to go next with this? Matter of fact, let's go here. And then I'm going to go to this, what the sister whose channel I follow on YouTube is saying. I want to go here. Snapshots. Michigan woman, 2 kids died of hypothermia in field, sheriff says. Michigan authorities and when I'm hype, I read fast, I talk fast, so y'all been hearing me do that for a minute. And I'm a little hype. Today has been a hype day. Today has been one of them days. Michigan authorities said Monica Kennedy, 35, was going through a mental health crisis when the tragedy occurred. See, when we go through mental health crises, we're ignored. Don't call the cops. Oh, the cops will come and shoot you down. They'll come shoot you down. They just see another Negro with a knife or a razor or whatever he's doing or she's doing to threaten themselves, not the cops, not anybody in the home. How many videos we've seen like that? Officer, chill. He's not going to do nothing to anybody. This is just him. He always does this. Bang, 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 bang. Cops kill him anyway. This is what happened when America decided that we were going to perpetually remain as a proxy bottom class caste in this country. But let's read this article. A Michigan woman going through a mental health crisis and her 2 sons were found dead over the weekend after taking refuge in a Detroit area park. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard identified the victims as 35-year-old Monica Kennedy. I don't know if that's Monica or Monica. Monica. That may be Monica Kennedy, 9-year-old Cal Milton, and 3-year-old Malik Milton, Fox Detroit reported. An autopsy determined they died from hypothermia. This tragedy was based in a mental health crisis, Bouchard said Monday. And this is the picture of the woman and her child, one of her sons. A 10-year-old girl survived, but is hospitalized with hypothermia. Authorities learned of the deaths when the girl knocked on doors and said her family was dead in the field. Bouchard said Kennedy had an apartment, but was going through a mental health crisis that led her to seek shelter outside her home. She apparently thought someone was out to get her, the news outlet reported. Now, people could say and come at this woman, say she was going crazy and how you going to go out with, this is what happens when people go through mental health crises. This is what happens when in our freedmen communities, there's no infrastructure in place so that someone like this woman could go and seek counseling and not just walk the streets. They said she walked the streets for days. It's freezing in Detroit. I've been there. I've been in Detroit. That's right, freedman Holocaust survivor. We need freedmen counseling. That's a fact. We don't have that. We do not have that. This touched my soul. I'm like, God damn, this is crazy. And ironically, one of my bros that I grew up with, one of my homies, is in a hospital with COVID in Detroit right now. And I see you. So that been on my brain for the past couple hours. It's my dude. That's why I don't listen to nobody's vaccine conspiracy theories. Y'all could keep that stuff over there. Straight up. So, I mean, let me put that article in the inbox. Sad, sad, sad. Let me see. Brees the Braveheart said, if this woman was white or Asian, there would be a nationwide outcry, and Democrats would be holding hearings to pass mental health legislation. Exactly. Exactly. BTP Ali is in the chat. What's going on, bro? Exactly. Meanwhile, we're suffering, right? I thought this story was interesting. And I want to, these ads are ridiculous, man. How do you get rid of these ads? Jeez. I want to pull this up real quick. If I'm not mistaken, this is the EpiPen queen that decided that she was going to start jerking people out of their money and charging like $600 to $700 for them EpiPens. Elizabeth Holmes living in $13,000 per month estate, showing no remorse. Feds. Disgraced Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes is living a life of luxury in her $13,000 per month estate while appealing her conviction on various fraud charges. Prosecutor says Holmes, 38, continues to show no remorse for her actions at the doomed blood testing startup after being sentenced. Oh, I don't know if this is the EpiPen lady. I'm not sure. Holmes was convicted of defrauding investors by lying about Theranos. But the point is, when you are white in America and you have money, you get to do this. You get to gallivant. Like this chick done had 2 babies. Like she has the most smug looks on her face. I was going through some of the pictures from the other articles. I was like, this is crazy. You get to thumb your nose up at the government, at the system, because they see them as they see themselves. This is why the January 6th seditionists, these insurrectionists, were able to go to the Capitol and just start beating up cops. Cops is like, wait, Jimmy, I don't want to hit you. It's like, screw you. The election. Like, what? What's going on here? And we know that if that had been a group of us, oh boy, they would have called it the massacre in DC or something like that. That's how the history records would have. That's how history would have recorded it. The massacre in DC, the time when thousands of blacks decided to storm the Capitol. They would have gunned us down. They would have gunned us down. It is what it is. It is what it is. I want to let me see. I want to play this audio real quick. I said I wasn't staying on here long, so I might get off. Let me not say that because I know Josh is probably lingering in the background, waiting for me to say, all right, y'all, I'm about to jump off. So he could jump, he could jump on. So this is from a channel I follow. Y'all, let me know if y'all can hear this. But these are some of the stories that she puts out.
I was talking to one of my friends. He is an attorney and owns a successful practice. And he said that he's having to hire a whole bunch of new lawyers because his firm is filing thousands, not hundreds, thousands of eviction notices and foreclosure notices per week in the state of Georgia and 3 other states. Did y'all hear me? Thousands. Like real talk, it's really looking scary like 2008, 2009. And what I want to know is where are these people going to go stay? Like, for real, for real. Why is this not what's being discussed on the news every night? Like, we have a really bad housing crisis in this country. And I've talked and said all this stuff about BlackRock and all these people buying up these houses to rent. Maybe there's going to be some big, huge government contract for Section 8 expansion. How you do?
So let me put that link in the chat. So y'all see what the sister is saying there, man. And I'm in the state of Georgia. I'm seeing it. The activists have taken to the streets here in Georgia. These companies have come in and they've brought up all of the real estate. They've tripled the rents. I know someone's rent that went from $650 to $1,455. What's getting better under Biden's administration? You heard what that woman just said, and she's right, because I'm seeing it. Thousands of evictions, thousands of them, not hundreds. And she asked another pertinent question. Where are all these people going to go? What's going on, Sister Sherry Thomas? Where are all these people going to go? Make sure y'all hit that like button, fam. Y'all know how to support the channel. Cash App be the power. Use the super chat. You already know. I ain't want to get on here and stay on here, but I wanted to touch on some things, because without a system of reparative measures, 30 years from now, my children live in a country that they can't afford to live in. They will become a permanent homeless class. It may come to the point where you can't even leave home. All of the adults that could, or those who are of age, let me say, who are capable of being employed, might have to go out and work just to put money towards the rent and the electric and gas, if you have gas, the water, depending on where you live at. That's tough. That's right, Roz. Biden is bringing in 10,000 illegal aliens monthly. How are we going to compete with that when the studies have already shown that this influx of immigrants, especially since the year 2000, is suppressing the wages of our people, particularly our men? How do you compete with that? Let me share this other article. All of the benefit goes to white Americans. White Americans collect 92% of benefits from investor tax breaks. The U.S. Treasury Department's first ever analysis of tax return data by race and ethnicity shows white Americans disproportionately benefiting from a variety of tax breaks, including those aimed at investors. Non-Hispanic white Americans, who make up 2/3 of U.S. families, receive 92% of the benefit from the lower tax rate on dividends and capital gains, and about the same share for deductions of charitable gifts and pass-through business income, according to the Treasury study, which looks at the impact of several major tax breaks. Some other provisions, like the Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit, are more evenly distributed. See, that regular stuff, yeah, everybody could get in on that regular stuff. But when we're talking about dividends and capital gains, well, then that's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole foreign language to many of us freedmen. Let's just be honest. It says the Internal Revenue Service forms don't ask taxpayers about their race, gender, or ethnicity, making it one of the only federal agencies that doesn't release detailed demographic data. That's interesting. Scholars and activists have been pushing the government for years to find ways to understand how the tax code may be contributing to the nation's vast and persistent racial wealth gap. I don't need to go into this any further. Let me put this in the chat so y'all can have it. This is what we're faced with, family. That's why this conversation of reparations ain't going away. We have to become louder and louder and louder. And they have to hear us. And we have to be on one accord. I'm about to speak to something in a second. Let me read this line, and then I'm going to close this out. It says, even if, quote, it took a really long time to get here, the study is a good first start, said Georgetown University law professor Dorothy Brown, whose 2021 book, The Whiteness of Wealth, urged Treasury to provide more data. Urged the Treasury to provide more data. And they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it. Why? Because it's going to show. There was something that was put out a few years ago about the racism and how taxation works. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it just popped in my head. There was a video or maybe an article or maybe a video in the article, but I remember it. It just popped in my brain, and it was breaking down how even in how the IRS does its taxes and how that whole thing breaks down, it's still systemically racist. Still racist. Peace, Miss Battle. Brother Derek sleeping Omex. I see you. I see you, sis, Miss Battle. I see you. So let me get back to this reparations thing and being on one accord means, right? So those of you who are tapped in with this movement, y'all have seen a lot of the attacks that have come at me, right? And because they have nothing else to attack, they can't refute the information that we present. They can't refute anything, actually, nothing. They go to my past and say he was a Moor. Right? So I want to say, let's just say I was still in the Moorish movement. I was still like religiously into it. I wore my fez and my tone was a little more softer, because that's how I was when I was in the movement. I was trying to be this peaceful new version of myself. Those of you who know me from that, some years back, you know that for a fact. I just want to say, let's just say I'm still in it, 10 toes down. My understanding would not lead me, my reasoning faculty would not lead me to try to center the Moorish whatever I was into. Doesn't matter what it is. It wouldn't lead me to center that in the movement. I wouldn't dare say you have to accept that, or else the rest of what you're doing is flawed and something must be wrong with you if you don't accept that. That's not how this works. It's not how this works. And I'm speaking to an issue that happened today. I'm not going to blow it up. Those that know, and they're listening. They're listening. So we could never let our ideologies or our ideological differences, whatever they may be, be centered over our push for justice. Because then we are nefarious actors that do not really care about what it is we say that we're fighting for. And really, ultimately, we only care about this thing that we're pushing, that we want to be centripetal, right? In the middle, reaching all other things. No, don't work that way, and it's never going to work that way. This is a movement for reparations, and it has an umbrella, and that umbrella has a name on it, and that name says American freedmen, which means that all American freedmen are welcome under that umbrella. They're under it, whether they want to be under it or not. They're under it. Anything outside of that is another umbrella. It's another umbrella. And the two don't mesh because I can't stand under two umbrellas. See, I can be Islamic or Moorish, but still be under that American freedman umbrella. I could be a Hebrew Israelite and be under that Moorish umbrella. I could be a dyed-in-the-wool Christian. I'm going to still be up under that that American freedman umbrella. Still be up under that umbrella. So it doesn't matter if you're LGBTQ. If you're an American freedman, you're up under that umbrella. It doesn't matter if you're into Islam or Christianity or whatever. If you are an American freedman, you are up under that umbrella. And that's it. And you don't try to open up another umbrella while you're standing up under an umbrella. Who does that? That don't make no sense. I hope my analogy is crystal clear, because what we're not going to do is let anybody come into this thing and take it into another direction. And that goes for me and anybody else. Because the moment I start trying to get y'all into something else is the moment that y'all start calling me out on it. And y'all would have no problem calling, especially me out. Y'all, especially me. Y'all would have no problem with calling me out on it. So the moment I start to do that, or anybody from BT, ain't nobody from BTP going to do it because they still got to get past me in order to do that. And I would still have to get past them in order to take the movement in some other direction. So that ain't happening over here. And if we don't gatekeep this thing, then it's going to be torn asunder. It's going to be trampled on. And everybody else with their own agendas, they're going to latch onto this thing. And guess what? 30 years from now, when our children are living in tent cities out in the woods somewhere while still going to work back and forth, we're going to look back. They are, and our grandchildren are going to look back on this moment and say, y'all had the momentum, y'all had everything going, and y'all failed us. And those of us who are still here 30 years from now, we will have deserved every bit of that scorn. That's right, Sister Roz. We cannot wander in the proverbial desert for 40 years. We got to get this shit done now, fam. Point blank, period. We got to get it done now. So, I just wanted to get on here and talk my talk a little bit. Shout out to my fans. Let me give a shout out. Shout out to the American Freedman family that's in the building. Shout out to everybody that puts in this work. You deserve respect and you deserve honor. And anybody that's coming with disrespect, whether inside or outside of this movement, they deserve a sword to the neck. They deserve a sword to the neck, a broadsword, straight like that. Shout out to the family, man. Shout out to the family. But we are, you know, we are here to do our part because everybody has a role to play in this thing. You ever, for those of you who watch The Matrix, there's some scenes, I can't remember which scenes. I think it's Morpheus, and he's talking about the machine activity. And the reason why there's a lot of machine activity, because yes, amen, respect the elders too. Some people don't know what that means. But they're gonna learn here. They're gonna learn here. You're gonna respect the elders around me. And that's a fact. That's a fact. But the activity of the machines was due to the fact that I think Morpheus said in the last 10 years, we've awakened more minds than we have in the past 100 or something like that. And that's what's going on with this reparations movement. I'm loving the TikToks that's coming out. Sister Camila, Brother Chris Larson. I'm like, yes, I need to do a TikTok. I wrote a script for a TikTok. It's sitting right in front of me. But it's for pretendians. And what I'm doing is talking about the Walter Plecker thing, because I believe that we need to properly dissect this lie that's being told about Walter Plecker reclassifying Indians as black people, because that did not happen. Didn't happen. It's bunk information. Bunk information. So, shout out to my fam. Honest, y'all know I love y'all. Even the people that that gotta get this work, I love them too. I love them too. But sometimes in family, you gotta get this work, and we gotta stand as gatekeepers. We gotta stand as gatekeepers. Damn, I just got some news. Shit. I just got some news. I just got an update on my bro. Bought up. Thank you, Ali. He said bought up, not brought up. I still confuse those those two words sometimes. Oh man. So we waking people up, family. We are waking people up. They are right, even the haters that's on Twitter right now. They're byproducts of this movement, whether they accept that fact or not. Whether they accept that fact or not. Ali said Walter Plecker with the Virginia Racial Integrity Acts classified mixed people as coloreds. That's exactly what he did. It's exactly what he did. I don't know how they're not reading that. But when you are trying to make a case for some nonsense ideology that you are pushing because you hate your own ancestry, then it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. So, damn. Damn. All right. So, damn. I was trying to get to a point before I got some news update on my bro in the inbox. But it was, I don't know. The point is, this message is getting out there, fam. This message is getting out there, and we can't let up. We can't let up at all. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep going. And of course, here comes Josh. Here comes Josh. Of course. Jump in,
man.
Josh.
I just seen the
Of course you just seen it, Josh. Of course you did. What's going on, bro?
man, nothing, man. You know, just saw it's another day out here in these reparationist streets, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I hope it was. I know you covered a lot of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have much to add. I was just gonna listen in for the time
Mm-hmm.
being and see where I could jump in at. But hey, everybody, peace, peace. But I just want to say, no, it's not gonna stop. How can it stop when it's not like what's really changed? What's changed in our position? It's we got to keep going. you
That's
know,
right.
and people might be at odds or whatever, but they're, I mean, I don't know if they're going to keep going, but we're going to keep going.
That's a fact. That is a fact. We have
Yeah. Because guess what? I mean,
to. Ali said Josh is hilarious.
who are we? Right? We're just people that that, have a real serious, deep understanding of this thing and want to take the
Hold
message to
on,
reach
bro.
more, more,
Hold
more
on.
people.
I'm laughing because Ali said Josh is hilarious, and that just got me cracking up right now. And I want to hear what you got to say, but I'm still kind of laughing because that's funny. I was like, and because I said it, I said I'm not staying on here long. I said, of course, y'all know Josh is probably gonna jump on right at the end when I get ready to get off of here.
Hey, we can hop off, man. We can hop
Nah,
off.
go ahead. Say, I'm not staying on that much longer though.
Nah,
Say, no, go in, bro. Go in. Say what you got to say, man.
this fight is getting more complex and more complex. The anti-reparationists um are getting, they're updating their game just the way we're trying to update our game. They're updating their terminology and their lingo to combat what we're saying. They understand how to exploit some of the weaknesses in the argument, some of the weaknesses in the lack of collaboration and organization, and they're gonna, we have to continue to fight against the anti-reparations alongside the people that say they want to make progress in the movement, but are taking steps uh, to retard the progress. So, hey, but even with that, we got to keep going, and we got to make this thing reach a different level. Like, I don't know what it's going to take exactly to get us to get the strength that we need, but we got to make this thing reach another level. I mean, I'm looking at, like, let's say California or some places that are going to actually push and challenge to see what's going to happen. Like, I want to see, once the report this year, once that report, the final report comes out, and they send those recommendations to the state legislature, and what they do with it, what the governor does with it, what happens with that, and are they going to actually pass legislation or introduce legislation, and then what if that gets passed? Is that going to get challenged by the anti-reparationists on at in the courts? Like, I want to see all that.
No, exactly, and that's why I'm such a stickler for having the proper language, man. If it's one thing that we've learned, really since we've started studying this Friedman history of ours, and then understanding the legal challenges that we've had, trying to get things done for us specifically, the language is so important. Getting that language correct is so, like, we know that race-based legislation is not good. It's something that we know. However, everything that we draft up has to be drafted with that in mind. And I believe it was Scalia that said, you can't go back and, I think, remedy or litigate
Hey, bro, I
One,
don't.
two,
Is it just me or your
one,
audios?
one, two, one,
Are you
two. Can you
good
hear me?
now? You good now?
All right, let me see if the people can hear me in the chat. Can y'all hear me? One, two, one, two, one, two. Josh probably could hear me, but I'm not sure if anybody in the chat could hear me. All right, I'm good now. Okay, cool. All right, so what I was saying was we got to get the language right. We got to get the language right. And it was Scalia that said we cannot, I think he said, either litigate or remedy past discriminations. Now, these were poison pills that they were dropping in the Supreme Court. You know, yeah, I think it is a grounding problem, Otis. I don't know. This thing been. I'm about to upgrade though. We're about to switch this whole thing up. New intros, all of that coming real soon. But the language is everything. The language is. That's why I had chose to engage a lot of the haters in what I call special ed Twitter, because it's like they don't even understand the language. They don't understand anything. I'm like, this is crazy, you know. And Ali said all discrimination is in the past, and that's a fact. If you got discriminated on 5 minutes ago, that was still in the past. That was 5 minutes ago. So what the Supreme Court has done, particularly through its conservative justices, they have dropped poison pills in the well. Or I don't even want to say the well. Let's just say each glass or each picture of, let's say each court case or issue represented a picture of water. So the Reconstruction Amendments, the 13th Amendment, okay, we're going to speak about the badges and incidents of slavery, and we're going to codify that in the 1875 Civil Rights Act. But then in 1883, the Supreme Court is going to drop a poison pill in it. And Michelle, let's come up to date. Michelle Alexander's book, and Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow. And there's something that's said in this book as well. I probably won't be able to find it, but I'm gonna try to talk and search at the same time because I have it highlighted, I think. And Michelle Alexander's New Jim Crow, in her chapter 3, she speaks to how the courts dropped poison pills. It's like, okay, well, in the state of Georgia, many of the executions are done to black folks. It's done to black folks. Seem like white folk get a chance, not black folks. It's like, that's interesting. So what do you do? What do you do in that regard? Well, you bring that to the attention of the court. The court decides that it is going to use its but-for standard. All right. And then using its but-for standard, and it was a murder case. And dude didn't deny what he did. I think it was self-defense. I can't remember the full details at the moment. But what dude was saying was, I don't deserve capital punishment because of this. I don't deserve capital punishment. And there was a study done. And the study showed that, yes, in the state of Georgia, blacks were disproportionately executed. And whites were spared execution. So if blacks represented 90 something, if blacks got executed at a 94% clip, whites got executed only at a 17% clip. That number, both of those numbers could be slightly off, but they're ballpark numbers. I'm just going off memory right now. The Supreme Court.
And you're referring to those who were on death row and
that's right.
They got pardoned and got taken off.
Well, got executed.
Oh, yeah, right.
That got executed, right? So, but when you're looking at the white numbers, then that other percentage, the majority of them appear to not get execution. They had their execution stayed or something. The Supreme Court decided that it was going to use the but-for standard in this particular case. I cannot remember the case. It may be McCluskey, something versus McCluskey, and I could be mixing up two different cases, so forgive me on that. I'm just going off of memory. But the Supreme Court said that, well, can you prove that you're going to be executed solely because you're black and not based on the crime that you committed? How do you prove that? You can't prove that. You can't. And they got to poison the well. They got to drop a poison pill in each jar, in each picture, if a picture represented a case or an issue. And Michelle Alexander, although her black and brown stuff was just absolutely sounding like nails on a chalkboard.
Super cringy.
Super cringy. It was what it was, right? It was what people asking for the link. I'm about to get off. But go ahead, Josh. What you think about that?
In terms of the language. Is that what you were talking about? The language that we need to get corrected?
Well, not just the language and the fact that trying to do race-based legislation is
they've elevated the standard so far.
That's right.
I mean, well, here's the thing. You know, we talk about the history of the Supreme Court doing us dirty, and you can argue that that branch has done the most. They can continue to do it, you know, because they don't get voted out, and they don't, you know, they're not really beholden to anybody except for, I don't know, each other or maybe some other interest that we don't know about. But they you know, they're not really beholden to anybody, so they can make whatever ruling they want, and they're going to still be in that job for the rest of their lives. So when I look at it, like we can make a bunch of arguments that are valid, but we're subject to the whims of whatever they want to, however they want to rule. You know, if they want to, I mean, you can't, if they want to be as low as to you know, make the arguments of that were made. If you read the Dred Scott case or some of the other cases that kind of make us less of a human or less of a, you know, that diminish our personhood, they can say whatever they want to say. They can make up any kind of legal justification and come up with the ruling they want to do. So I'm you know, it's tough, man. It's tough to actually
think. You see what Ali just said, right? Ali said Congress can undo a SCOTUS decision,
that's
e.g.
right.
the Dred Scott decision.
That's where I was going.
So, you know, we're not going to talk about what we're working on, but you know, it can be done. It can be done.
That's the way around it. That's the way around it. And this is something that we haven't been as heavy on, but we're gonna have to get back to this, and we're gonna have to organize and get resources and all this kind of stuff. But hey, man, until we get enough power in the Congress with majority freedmen state, so we can get our freedmen, popularly elected freedmen, up in Congress, it's going to be hard to think how we can make any damage, because right now we just got people with face only. But they're not, their policy and agenda is not freedmen first. We need a reconstructive freedmen agenda. That's what we need.
Remember that, family. We need a reconstructive freedmen agenda. Period. That's how we have to put that out there. That we need a reconstructive freedmen agenda. But I have a question on the screen, and I want to answer that question by playing a clip from Eric Foner's The Second Founding. So Sister BB says, how do the Supreme Court justices, all descendants of enslavement, manage to review race-based cases that affect the oppressed of their own people? So there's several ways to answer that question, right? But I want to play Eric Foner because I think he answers that question and we can elaborate on it a little bit. And I said I wasn't going to be here long, and we're an hour and a half in, so let me play.
There is no reason why the 13th Amendment cannot be reinvigorated as a weapon against enduring inequalities rooted in slavery. Or the 14th clause related to the privileges or immunities of citizens must remain a dead letter, why it cannot be understood to encompass rights denied by slavery and essential to full membership in American society today, such as access to an adequate education, or even the reasonable wages to which Lincoln said the freed slaves were entitled in the Emancipation Proclamation. Why, in the 21st century, should the right to vote not be considered a privilege of citizenship enjoyed by all adult Americans?
So I wanted to play that because what Foner is suggesting is what we've been saying since we've come into this understanding, is that we are not utilizing our remedy, that those Reconstruction amendments were passed specifically for us. And the courts, to answer your question directly, Sister BB, they move off of a framework, a legal framework that's already established. Ali speaks to when he and Dr. Darity co-wrote this article, and the other professors, I believe it was, they didn't want to accept what they had written because it went against their conventional thinking. It went against the, I don't know,
Commonly accepted.
Commonly accepted. There we go. Commonly accepted teachings that they've adopted and they've been spitting back like parrots. It's the same thing. Eric Foner speaks about the Dunning School of Thought when we're looking at the history of Reconstruction and how that thought was pervasive. And this is the school of thought that the Supreme Court justices have been using for ages. And so what Foner is saying is that why aren't we, and he's specifically speaking to us as freedmen, using the remedy that was granted to us? And I don't believe that those Supreme Court justices know this in detail, but what I do think is that they are slowly starting to come into this understanding, because we see that in the affirmative action case, the status of freedmen was invoked. And the question was centered around whether, when we were given that status, the Congress was looking at it through a race-conscious lens.
Or race-based lens.
Well, the words they use was race-conscious. So I want to be, and the reason why I want to be...
They use it. They use two different words in two different cases. So in the one where Brown Jackson was not recused, that was a UNC one. They mentioned race conscious. In the Harvard one, they mentioned race based. So either way, it's talking about how you can discriminate using race, whether conscious or based, but. In both ways, and I'm not to cut you off, brother, but what you, and you probably agree with this. What we're saying is we need to move away from language that can get us in that game.
And they're not looking at. You got to think of Ketanji Brown Jackson's. She's just like them professors that Ali was having the issues with in rejecting what he and Darity had wrote. These people have a commonly accepted view of things. And that's why Eric Foner's, not just Eric Foner's work, there's a book that the OG Arthur Ward put us on to. What is it called, Josh?
The original meaning of the 14th Amendment.
The original meaning of the 14th Amendment. Oh, another one. And one of the things
by
that
Randy E. Barnett, and what was the other dude's name? Randy E. Barnett and Evan Bernick.
Oh, I was about to pull it up. Yep, Evan D. Bernick, right? So, I didn't mean to put it on. So he's going in, and he's saying that. He's saying how these justices, they go through this pattern. I'm summing up what he said, of course. They go through their education is based on a pattern, basically. It's based on a specific pattern, and that's the pattern that they follow. And how they view things that are of a legal and constitutional nature is done through such a narrow lens and scope that it renders almost all the time a faulty position, like Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade should have never had the 14th Amendment as its base, as the thing that undergirded it. Should not have had the 14th Amendment as its base, the thing that it was upheld by. DACA should never have had the 14th Amendment as, at least that's my opinion on it. Some may disagree. I think Foner even disagrees with that. So
yeah, it's a lot of people in academia that want to appropriate the Reconstruction Amendments to everybody, in particular the 14th, and now even the 13th. They want to interpret that to have a wider application that can, be remedy for a lot of other people that want to have their, claims folded into that. And we have to be real serious about walling that off and protection for the original intent, which is to eradicate the badges, incidents, and consequences of slavery. One other thing, well, yeah, we're not gonna talk about. Never mind, because we ain't put that out yet. Never mind.
Yeah, it's some stuff we be wanting to talk about. But we can't talk about it because we're working on it behind the scenes. We're perfecting some things. And, sometimes you want to tell people what you're working on, but we're dealing with a bunch of saboteurs and obstructionists. And so we've decided to really be tight-lipped on a lot of stuff. But we are working, family. And
Anthony Dickerson. Go ahead. My bad. Sorry.
I'll say that we've been in contact with some people, and I got to think some of our people that's in the Cali fam. I don't even want to shout their names out because I don't want nobody to, be on no BS that even put us in the same space, if you will, as certain high-powered legal minds, right? So she know who she is. She knows who she is, right? And yeah, some of that stuff is exciting. Of course, we want to come back and share it with the family because we know that we're on the right track and is my audio out?
No, you
Josh?
good. You good.
Somebody said audio. And can y'all let me know if y'all can hear me in the chat? My audio been acting up.
Sound straight to me.
You could hear me, but I don't know. All right, I think everybody else could hear me.
Okay.
But yeah, bro, cool. We wanna make sure that this thing crosses the finish line so that we can be successful. And everybody, they just don't need to know everything. We've taken that position, and they won't know anything until it happens.
Yeah, I want to say something to the Anthony Dickinson conversation, man. Comment.
The
Excuse
comment.
me. We don't have reparations lawyers to litigate the Reconstruction members. That's a really
Mm-hmm.
powerful, statement when you think about it. We don't. Like, how is like reparationism um should be a whole like genre of like you got genres of music, there's different type of lawyers like that. That should be a whole like school of thought within free amongst the people that are aspiring to be like freedmen lawyers. I know it's not really a lane because most lawyers they spend all this money and time and they need to go recruit and get some on their investment and have cases to work on and make money. But like even if you're not, even as like a hobby, as a personal interest as a lawyer, this should be something that they all are well versed in. Because if you think about the injustice of us not having any freedmen in the Congress at the time when they were doing the Reconstruction Amendments, right? That's a supreme injustice then. If you think about the years after Reconstruction, where, you know, Sister Roz could tell you she was talking to, it was a communication with the elderly lady who had who I think her grandfather or something was, correct me if I'm wrong, Roz, and we wanted to like put this information out as far as letting her tell her story, but had a freedman ancestor who had won an election, I believe it was a congressional election, and was assassinated on the way to Washington to take a seat in Congress.
This was recently?
No, this is not. This has happened back in the day, but this,
Okay.
this is like
Okay. Because
what I'm saying
that
is,
just reminded me of a recent story of a brother that got elected, and I think he was on his way to Washington, and he got in a horrific, fatal car accident, and some people suspected foul play.
yeah. So this is like, but if you think about it, that kind of stuff was not like far fetched. That was a common threat. That you would lose your life running for office, you would lose your life voting. So that type of terrorism, um, it did not allow us to even have representation that we were supposed to have. Otherwise, if there was impartiality and on protections that were in place. So if you understand that historical injustice and you're going to now become a person that works in law, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a politician, you having like a sound understanding on reparations, on reconstruction, and having a position on that, like that should be a part of your like uh that should be a part of your hobby. And that's if anything, like that's you should have that as a part of your foundation. And that should be one of those things that you always want to do. Like how can you how can you um how can you be a mechanic, but you don't have any idea about like classic cars or something like that, or certain type of sports cars? Like, how do you not have that as like your hobby? Like, you always want to work, you always want to drive a Lamborghini, or you always want to, you got some old school type of car. Like, you gotta have that as a part of your foundation. I don't understand today how you can be a freedman and want to get involved in law and you don't, and you're not versed on the reconstruction, understanding that we had our people disallowed from being able to get our people to even have a say in not only reconstruction but all matters thereafter. We were locked out, we were boxed out, we were assassinated, and all these type of things. Yeah, we need to have way more. It should be like you should all if you're a freedman and you're a lawyer and you're not on reparations and you're not on reconstruction like that, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know what you're doing, man.
That's right. I was trying to find that Justice Roberts quote in this book while you was talking. But yeah, I mean, I'll get
Especially
into it
knowing
another
what Johnny
time.
Cochran, that was one of Johnny Cochran's aims, right? Yeah, exactly, Roz. I just read it in the chat. You went right to it. Like understanding where Johnny Cochran was going, and Johnny Cochran is like, the Michael Jordan of all the freedmen lawyers. You know what I mean? This is or of all lawyers, of all lawyers. I ain't gonna say of freedmen lawyers. He was a Michael Jordan of all lawyers, because anytime you can get somebody out of OJ's situation off, you know, hey man, you the man, you the man, and understand what he was doing with that. It's like, come on, no, nobody wanted to pick up after that and take the lead on this reparations thing. It's got. Hopefully, we can influence the next generation of people that are in law school, that are freshly out of law school or going to law school, to dig in and take like uh internalize this information and go and like pursue this thing, even if it's a part-time thing. It's on the side that you got to pursue this thing, man.
Let
You
me
got to
let me
be. Go ahead, step
let me
in,
give
brother.
the fam. Let me just give the fam something real quick. Foner was inspired by a book. This book was written by a group called the Brotherhood of Liberty. These were freedmen out of Baltimore.
Justice and jurisprudence. Yeah.
Justice and Jurisprudence, family. An inquiry concerning the constitutional limitations of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. I don't know if you're listening, OG Arthur Ward still, but that book right there,
Brotherhood of Liberty.
the Brotherhood of Liberty. Yes, yes. But yeah, so y'all make sure y'all check that book out. It's a free PDF as well. Sometimes you will see a book like this on Amazon. It's a reprint, but they have the PDF. And when I tell y'all, this book was written in 1889. They didn't want us to learn anything. They didn't educate us. And man, these
And he's the
brothers,
freedman.
these are freedmen. These are freedmen, 100%. And what they was doing was they was flexing on them. They were not just using big words. They were using elaborate sentences, and their sentence structure, their sentence syntax was great. I was like, these brothers was going in at 1889. 1889 it was written. 1889. So, yep, 1889. Y'all make sure y'all get that. And when y'all start looking into Eric Foner's books, then you'll see how, for matter of fact, in his book, The Second Founding, that is the name of his, I think, fourth or fifth chapter, Justice and Jurisprudence. Justice and Jurisprudence. So y'all make sure y'all get your hands on that. Y'all know how we do over here, man. We like to teach. We like to give out information. The ancestors are the winds beneath our wings. We move in this thing. We will win. We absolutely will win. We've been going through this for too long. Too long. So, Josh, honors Abdullah El Ibrahimi. You have anything you want to say before we close this thing out?
Nah, man. Just hey, look. I don't understand how people can look at their family, look at their community, look at the history, you know, see the injustice, see it ongoing, see it in the front, see it in the back, and you look down the road, it's still gonna be there, and not want to do what's necessary to fight and make us and help us win. I don't understand how people can put anything in front of this. Uh, so yeah, I don't understand it, but okay, that's cool. But look, man, we gotta keep the fight coming, keep the pressure on, and if you're not gonna be in the fight, help get out the way. Don't because this is like whether you feel it or not, or whether you um, you feel like you have an off ramp, or you got some type of out. The vast majority of us don't have that, and we still living with the consequences of slavery and the thereafter atrocities. So we've got to keep fighting, and figure this thing out, how to build a movement, a collaboration, a movement of I don't want to always use the cliche term unity, but man, we have to get a lot of people on the same page with the ideas and repeating the same information. Otherwise, man, it's a lot of disjointedness. And if you ever think about, like, when we say disjointed, think about a hand. Your hand, you were trying to like grip a baseball bat or grip, your phone or something like that, and your joints were just all apart. They're the wrong way. Like, like that thing is just gonna fall apart. You won't be able to grip nothing. You know, if you imagine you trying to walk and your kneecaps just they not even jointed together. Your leg just start folding the wrong way and bending the wrong way. Your joints not attached. Like that's how it's got to be. Like sometimes you put pressure for us to be able to take a step to walk. You don't want to be collapsing and falling down because your joints is not connected. And that's kind of how um, the reparations movement is at the present moment. So we gotta get our chondroitin, our MSM and glucosamine or whatever. We gotta have some reconstructive surgery in this thing and get on the treadmill and get our muscles and stuff right. We gotta build this thing up, man, because we gotta get to the numbers that's needed in the streets to put the pressure. And so that's the action we're gonna be taking moving forward. That being said, peace and love.
Indeed, indeed. I'm gonna try to get Gabe back on probably this week, maybe Thursday again, because I want people to know that this reparations movement is broad and it transcends skin tone. Of course, the American freedmen are going to lead the way, right? But we don't want to alienate people that are in this thing genuinely to help push it through. And we've done a lot of that. One of the brothers pulled the name Scipio Africanus Jones. That's a real freedman name right there. A freedman attorney. Scipio Africanus Jones. Those was some bad brothers out of Baltimore that wrote that book right there. I tell you, Baltimore has some freedman history. Y'all know when we let me show y'all something real quick because we've pulled this up before, just before we get off of here. This was in Baltimore.
Some of that lithograph.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me pull this up real quick. All right, what happened? For whatever reason. Oh, there we go. Y'all remember us pulling up this lithograph right here? This was based on an actual parade that happened in the city of Baltimore. Y'all know we always, for all of them people that be talking about the fezzes, we always point out the brothers with the fezzes. and the brothers right there with the fezzes on, with the image of Martin Delaney. We will protect our country as it defends our rights. And that was how we always looked at this country, right? Until it got to the point where it was like, you know what, this country don't give a goddamn about us. We see the venerable, like a white guy,
they reneged
right?
on their promises, man.
John Brown, that's right. Like John Brown was putting in that work for our people. This white man right here, it's putting in that work.
Mm-hmm.
And the legislators that put in work, they were documented in this thing. Like this is a powerful lithograph right here. When you look at some of them, they give you chills. The Odd Fellows right there showing that we had our secret societies. Another freedman by the name of Moses Dixon, that you all need to look into, because he technically started the first freedmen secret society in the United States. And I'm talking about freedmen. The Odd Fellows wasn't a freedman. Naturally, y'all know that Freemasonry is not a freedman secret society, although Prince Hall had his own chapter with the African Lodge. But what Moses Dixon did, what he started, and the brothers that he put together, his 40,000 troops, man, listen. But this event right here happened in Bmore, so it's no wonder that you get the Brotherhood of Liberty. That's right, Ali. Moses Dixon and the Knights of Liberty, right? You have the Knights of Liberty. Google Abdullah El Ibrahimi. Google 15th Amendment lithograph. A bunch of them are going to pop up, but you're going to see this one. Just do a keyword search, 15th Amendment lithograph. And it says right there, celebration of 15th Amendment, May 18th. Oh, y'all can't see it. 1870.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. All right, yeah, Arthur Ward, I see you. We were shouting out this book. I don't know if you heard that part, the Justice and Jurisprudence, that was written in 1889 by the freedmen out of Baltimore. But this is what we on, this freedman thing of ours. This is what's going to take us over the top. That's why so much excitement for it. That's why there's haters coming at it. But like Hov said, and once again this song, you can't stop it. You can't stop it, fam. You cannot stop it. That's like trying to stop a boulder, a 800-pound boulder rolling down the side of a mountain. And you think you're going to run up the side of the mountain with your puny human strength and say, I can stop it? No, you're going to get rolled over. You're going to get rolled over. So, family, we're going to get up out of here, man. I've been on here 2 hours. When I sat here, I said, I'm not going to be on here for 2 hours. But I predicted that Josh was going to come on at the end of the live stream, and he did just that.
Hey, it's 1 minute and 58 seconds right now. So, I mean, 1 hour, 58 minutes and 8 seconds. So, yeah.
So, technically, right? OG Arthur Ward said he's buying it right now. OG Otis said, thanks for the link. Shout out Sister BTP Riri. Shout out to all of the Be the Power family. Shout out to all of the American Freedmen family. Y'all already know what it is. We love all of y'all. We do it out of love. We fight out of love. And it's simple as that. Also, the PDF is free, Derek Smith. I'm just saying, the PDF is free. Some people don't like to read from their computers. I got a tablet that I can read from, so I'm kind of cool with that's what I read my PDFs on. I almost never read no PDFs on my phone. Okay, fam, let's get up out of here. I'll leave you all with the motto of the platform, and that is, don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. With that, I say peace.
Peace.